before we go into the sewing, I just want to let you guys know that the way we drafted out the pattern, that's the first method, and the way we cut on the fabric. Now the joining of both is the same. The way you sew the both of them, the both method is the same way. The only difference now is that the pattern that you have drafted, you need to place that on the fabric, a folded fabric. And when you're placing that on the folded fabric, you go ahead and fold your fabric into that second method way and cut, okay? But one thing about the pattern is that now you have the pattern for next time, so you have something to, you know, reference to when you're making another outfit that is flay, circle, yeah, so you get. So that is one benefit about the pattern. So that is it. That is all the information I need to tell you. The sewing process for the first method and second method is the same. Don't forget to also like and subscribe. At this point you should have subscribed, okay? Go ahead and subscribe, and yes, comment if you have any question. Let me know. I am willing to answer. I'm ready to answer. I'm just waiting on my phone, waiting like this to get your questions so I can answer you guys. So yeah, let's just go.
Now the first thing I'm going to do is create a facing for the necklines, and I have my fabric here. The fabric width and the length does not really matter. Just make sure you have enough fabric to cut out a facing for the neckline. So what I will do now is fold my fabric into two. You can see that this is 2 layers of fabric, and I'm just going to trim out the base because I don't want to work with this. I'll trim it out. And now what I will do is from the base, I'll mark 3.5 inches upwards. Now I'll place my tape from the base here, and then I'll go up by 3.5 inches. Now from that line, I'm going to place the front neckline like this, and then I'll trace the neckline on the fabric. Now see the front neckline, and I'm just going to trace the front neckline like this. So this is just going to help me create the facing for the front piece, okay? And I'll be doing the same thing for the back. Now I have the front neckline traced on this fabric. What I'll do now is that 3.5 inches I marked before, this one, I'll just mark it round this facing, and I'll make sure while I'm marking, I move my tape round, okay? So you can see that my tape is not sitting in one place. It is moving round just as I'm moving around at the length of the facing. So what we're marking now is the length of the facing, and it's 3.5 inches. So this is the facing for my front neckline. I'll go ahead and use my curve ruler to smoothen this curve, and then I'll cut. So this is how you create a facing for the neckline. If you don't want to create a facing, you have the option of using a bias tape on the neckline. I have videos that can put you through on how to use a bias tape. That is actually pretty easy. You don't have to create nothing, just use a bias to sew on the neckline. But I'll be using facing. And I'm just indicating the wrong side. Now this is how the front neckline looks, and what we're going to do is at the wrong side of the fabric, I'm just going to hem it by half an inch, okay? I'll hem the base by half an inch. I'll sew it by half an inch. Now I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the same step on the back neckline. I have the 3.5 inches here indicated. I'll place the back piece like this, the neckline like this, sitting on the 3.5. From the close edge, I'll trace, and then I'll place my tape and mark 3.5 inches round like this, just exactly as we did for the front facing. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut. So whatever you're doing on the front piece, please go ahead and do that on the back piece, okay? So this is the facing for the back neckline, and let's go sew on our sewing machine. Okay, so get your sewing machine ready. Your manual, your industrial, whichever you're using. If you're using hand, good, okay? Get it ready. And now let's go ahead and hem this facing round by 1/4 inch. So you can see where I'm sewing on the facing, right? Where I have the length and not where we indicated the neckline, okay? I'm sewing it in by 1/4 inch. So once I was done sewing, I'm just going to cut out the excess threads. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sew this facing now to the neckline. So make sure you already did the same thing for the back. And now we're going to be sewing the facing to the neckline. So this is the front piece. And when sewing our facing, we sew from the right side of the fabric. So from the good side of the fabric, you go ahead and place your facing like that, making sure that your facing right side is facing the right side of your front piece. And then you sew by 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. As for me, I'm just sewing by 1/2 inch round the neckline. Remember, I'm sewing on the neckline, and this is the front. So we're going to repeat the same thing for the back, okay? So once I was done sewing, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off a little bit of the excess we have here before I notch on the neckline so that the facing and the front piece sits properly, okay? So it sits really, really curvy. And yeah, this is what I have. Now let's go ahead and iron this out. We are going to be ironing and using the hemming gum to hold down our facing to the neckline. So this is what hemming gum looks like, and this is sold for, I got mine for like 350 naira. That is how cheap it is, so you should be able to afford one. Get you one. And now before we place the hemming gum on the neckline, I'm just going to iron this out. So I'll iron my neckline out so that the fabric is able to lay really, really flat before I add my hemming gum. So now it is laying flat just as I want it to. I'm just going to bring my hemming gum and then I'll place this on the neckline. I'm just going to place it between the facing and the front piece, and this is just going to enable the facing sit on my front piece and not move, okay? And you guys, because I don't want to repeat the step again for the back, that's why I'm not showing you guys. Just go ahead and do that. What you're doing here on the front piece, make sure you do that for the back piece, okay? And you should have exactly what I have here. You can see how clean the front neckline looks. This is what you should have for your front and for your back, okay? Repeat the step on the back neckline and have your complete piece ready. Now once you have your front piece and your back piece all ready, we're going to be joining the two of them together. That is the next step. So this is my back neckline. I have gone ahead to attach my facing, use my hemming gum, and now what I need to do is sew the shoulder of my back piece and my front piece together by 1/4 inch, okay? So these are the two shoulders. I'm just going to place them together and sew by 1/4 inch. Like I said, you have the option of just using a bias on the neckline, or you can go to the weavers, weave the neckline. If you have a weaving machine, you can weave the neckline and just sew it in by 1/4 inch. It is up to you, however you want to finish your neckline. Please go ahead and do that. And once you're done with that step, the next thing you should do is sew the shoulders by 1/4 inch, okay? So now I am done with my own shoulders. The two shoulders are sewn in. The next thing, I'll move to the sides, and now I'll sew the sides by 1/2 and 1/4 inch. Now at this point, the allowance you sew in your side width is up to you. You can use 1/4 inch, you can use 1/2 inch, you can use 1 inch, okay? That allowance now is up to you. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sewing in my sides by 1/2 and 1/4 inch. What I'm doing on this side, I'll repeat on the other side, and that is it for the joining of the front and the back piece together. I feel like the sewing step for this dress is really, really easy, like very easy. If you're able to draft out your pattern or cut your fabric, any method you use, the joining is actually easy. Now, creating the sleeves. You guys, to create the sleeves, I need you guys to really pay attention. Now, the first thing we have to do first is measure our armhole, okay? So you bring out your dress, place your tape on the armhole, and find out what you have there. So what we need here is the round armhole. And me, I'm placing my tape on one side of the armhole. I'm not taking it round, and I'm getting 11 inches. This means that the round of my armhole is 22 inches altogether. So because of I placed it on one side, Imagine I took the tape around it, I'll be getting 22 inches. So to get the gather flay, we have to multiply the round armhole by how much gather you want. Okay, now my round armhole on the dress is 22, right? And I want the gathers on my sleeve to be twice as much as my actual measurement. So I'm just going to times 22 by 2 and I'm getting 44 inches. And that is the width for my gathers armhole. Now let's do this again. I placed my tape on the armhole like this and I measured. I got 11 inches, which means if I take the tape around the whole fabric, I'll be getting 22 inches. That is 11 times 2 layers of fabric, right? So if I want to get twice as much as the actual armhole, which is 22, I have to times the 22 by 2, and for that I'm going to get 44, right? 22 times 2 gives you 44. Now you can decide to say you want just 1.5 inch more than your actual measurement. So what you have to do is go ahead and times your actual dress armhole measurement by 1.5 and you're going to get as much as 1.5. But you can decide to do mine, which is times 2, or you can even do 3. It depends on how much gathers you want to see. So this is the next thing we need to do: fold our fabric for the sleeves. So because we are making a flay sleeves, we need to fold this fabric into 4 layers. Now, first thing first, we fold into 2 layers. And once you have 2 layers, you go ahead and fold into 4 layers. So I have 2 layers here folded from the length, and now I'm folding the width into 2, and I'm getting 4 layers. You can see that what I have here is 4 layers of fabric, and I have a pointy close edge where all the fabric meets. Now you guys, this is what we need to do next. The width I need for my sleeves is 44 inches, right? What I did now is fold the fabric into 4 layers. So for me to mark 44 inches, I have to divide 44 by 4. So dividing 44 by 4 gives me 11 inches, and that is what I need to get as the width on this fabric that I have folded into 4. So since I have my fabric folded into 4, I need 11 inches on this first layer. What I'll do is I'll use my tape and curve it like this on the point, from the pointy close edge like this, and I'll make sure that I'm using only 11 inches out of my tape. Okay, you can see my hand from the 1 to the 11, and I'm placing it between the close edge, and I'm making a curve like this, making sure that I'm holding only 1 to 11 inches, and I'll indicate the points I have on the sides like this. And the next thing I need to do is I'll measure out from the pointy close edge here. I'll place my tape. So let me pin this so it does not move. Now from the pointy close edge, I'll place my tape and calculate what I got at that end. And you can see I got 7 inches. Yeah, I'll place it at the other end also and calculate what I got, and I also got 7 inches. So it means for me to get a curve of 11 inches, I have to place my tape from this pointy close edge and mark 7 inches down. So I'll go ahead and mark the 7 inches down, making sure that my tape at the base moves while the tape at the top of the pointy close edge just sits where it is. Okay, see how I'm moving and I'm creating a curve, and I'm just marking 7 inches round. So you guys know how we got the 7 inches, right? How I got the 7 inches. You can see how I did the tape the first time. I curved it and I used only 1 to 11 inches on my tape, and I made a curve, making sure that I only exhaust 11 inches. And from there, I was able to get my 7 inches, right? And that is what I marked round this curve here. Now I have this sorted out. I'm just going to go ahead and confirm again if I get that 11 inches. And this is how I confirm. I'll take the tape around the curve like this. And next thing I have to do now is cut around the curve. Now, if this is not clear to you guys, you want me to just do a proper video where I talk about how to get your radius, how to cut a curve on your fabric, I can do that, because I actually have 2 ways of creating this. There's actually a calculator for this, and I can actually share a link with you guys if you're interested. So let me know if you are still confused, and I will just sort that out for you. Now, the next one we're going to do is mark the length of the sleeves. And to do this, we're going to place the tape from the curve and mark how long we want the sleeves to be. So from the curve here, I'll mark 19 inches, and I'm going to mark 19 inches round this curve, okay? So I'll mark 19 inches here, and I'll keep marking 19 inches. Now, make sure your tape moves while you're marking this 19 inches. Why? We're trying to create a curve, so this does not have to be straight. It cannot be straight. We're trying to create a flay. We're trying to create a curve, so we have to move the tape on the top and also on the base while marking the measurement, okay? So make sure you do that. So I'm marking 19 inches round like this. You guys, later on I decided to cut out like 3 inches off the 19 inches because my fabric was not enough for the second one. The length of the sleeve that you can see on the thumbnail is actually 15 inches long and not 19. So now I have the curve, that's the length of my sleeves. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. But before then, I have to pin this so I get a clean cut, okay? You're actually supposed to pin this before you mark your length, so you get a proper length. And this is my sleeves. Now remember, it is 4 layers. That is why we were working with 11 inches. Now if I open this fabric into the 4 layers that it is, I'm just gonna get 44 inches. So let's go ahead and gather the sleeves. Yay, you made it to the gathering of the sleeves. Please let me know in the comment section if at this point you got confused or there is any hiccup. Please let me know so I sort it out for you, okay? So what I'm doing right now is sewing a loose stitch on my fabric, okay? And I'm sewing it at the curve we created for the width, not the length, okay? I'm sewing a loose stitch, and make sure that you have your sewing machine at 5 before you sew, so you can get a loose stitch. And if you're using the manual machine, take it down to 6, okay? So you can get a loose stitch. So once I'm done with the loose stitch, what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and gather this fabric to 22 inches round, because that is what we're working with for the round armhole on the dress, okay? So we need this to be 22 inches wide and not 44. So why we did 44 was to get extra allowance so we can gather. And now we're going to gather it back to the actual measurement, which is 22. I hope at this point you're getting the whole gist. So right here, I am done gathering, and I'll go ahead and confirm the measurements for the sleeves. And you can see I got 11, and 11 times 2 gives you 22 because I just measured just one side. So I have 22 round sleeves. I'll tie my thread so it does not move, so I still have the actual measurement when I'm pinning this to the armhole on the dress. And I'll just evenly distribute the gathers so it does not just sit one place. And the last step is for us to attach the sleeve to the dress. Second to the last stage though. So this is the armhole for my dress. I'm just going to go ahead and pin this first of all, so I make sure I'm working with the right measurements before I sew. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin, and as you can see, I'm pinning from where I have the sewing on the sleeves and where I have the sewing on the dress, okay? And I'll pin this round and make sure it sits properly before I start sewing, so I don't have to sew and lose and so on. That can be very, very inconvenient when you're sewing and losing and sewing and losing. Yeah, it's stressful. I don't like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin first to confirm. And yeah, you see, it sits properly. Now I can sew. So let's go ahead and sew. So I'm sewing this by 1/2 inch, and I'll sew round. And I'll make sure I arrange my gathers while I sew. Now at this point you can decide to arrange it how you want the gathers to look. If you want to have it look like a pleat, whatever you want it to look like, just go ahead and do you, girl. Okay, so for me, I'm just gonna just arrange it like this and just sew the normal way, nothing serious. Now once I'm done sewing, you guys, this is it. The next thing I need to do is I'm just going to take the whole outfit to the weavers and have them weave the length of the dress and the length of the sleeves and the inner of my dress before I go ahead and hem it with the hemming gum. So you guys, just the way we hem the neckline, go ahead and hem the base after weaving, or you can also use a bias. But I don't have a video where I show you how to use bias to finish your dress length or your sleeve length, but I think there's a video available on YouTube, so just search if you want to use the bias to finish it up, or you just want to go to the weavers, or if you have a weaving machine, or you just want to hem, anyone you want to do, you just want to fold twice and hem. If you think you can do that, please go ahead and do it. Finish up your dress the way you want it. And you guys, this is it for the video. I hope the sewing process was I hope it was exactly what you were expecting. Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. Love and light to you wherever you are. Bye for now.